This story is about a house. We rented a place so haunted that it made our lives miserable. Initially, we lived in an apartment, but our family always dreamed of living in a proper house. So my father rented a 3-story house, and we were all thrilled. It was spacious and grand, a perfect family home. But something strange happened before we even moved in. One night, my mom woke up suddenly to a voice warning her, "Don't go to that house. Don't go to that house," she told my father, but they dismissed it as just a bad dream. A few days later, we moved in. As we were shifting our belongings, we heard someone crying from the upper floor. We convinced ourselves it was just a noise from a neighboring house and ignored it. Shortly after, my maternal grandmother and aunt came to visit. My aunt and I decided to sleep on the first floor, where there was a large bedroom. That night, my aunt woke me up in terror. She said she had seen her mother, my grandmother, lying next to her, staring with lifeless, red eyes. I woke up and saw the same thing. We ran downstairs to tell my mom, fearing my grandmother might be seriously ill. But when we got there, my grandmother was sitting calmly, chatting with my mom. Everyone brushed it off, calling it our imagination, but my aunt refused to sleep upstairs again. After this, the first floor was mostly abandoned. Then one day, my mom saw an unnaturally large black cat walking out of the kitchen. A month later, my mom hired a maid to help with chores. One day, while cleaning the first floor, the maid suddenly ran downstairs in tears. She said something invisible had slapped her. She told my mom she would only clean that floor if someone from the family stayed with her. One night, when my father came home late, he did his usual routine of checking on us kids. When he lifted my baby brother, he noticed he wasn't moving or responding. Panic. He rushed to the hospital, where the doctors said it was a police case because someone had gripped the baby's neck. My father was shocked. That night, my father gathered us all in one room and made a decision. We were leaving the house. The next morning, while my mom was in the kitchen, she saw the black cat again. This time, she sprinkled holy water from a nearby church on it. The cat transformed into a hideous woman with an unexplainably horrifying face. My mom pleaded with the entity not to harm us, promising we were leaving soon. As we packed and left, we heard music coming from the upper floors, as if the entities were celebrating our departure. In March of 1997, I was serving in the military and had just come home on leave. The weather was pleasant, and I suggested to my wife that we take our 4 kids on a trip. At first, she refused, saying she was busy with work, but after some persuasion, she agreed. We packed our bags and set off around 7 p.m. with a friend driving the car. Around 1 a.m., we found ourselves on a mountain road. These mountains were beautiful during the day, but terrifying at night. The road was eerily quiet, and an unsettling fear crept into our hearts. While my wife and kids were asleep, my friend and I were chatting. Suddenly, my friend fell silent and kept glancing in the side mirror. I asked him what was wrong. He hesitated before saying he saw an old man walking strangely along the road. I brushed it off, thinking it was a local, and we continued driving. Not long after, we heard a loud, explosive noise, and the car began to vibrate. My friend stopped the car, and we inspected the tires, but they were all fine. Meanwhile, my wife and daughter stepped out, saying they needed to use the washroom. Since there wasn't one nearby, they walked a short distance away. Within minutes, we heard my daughter scream. We ran to them, and they demanded we leave immediately. Once we were back in the car, I asked what happened. My wife explained they had seen an old man descending the mountain, walking unnaturally and laughing eerily. When I described the man my friend had seen earlier, she confirmed it was the same figure. A little later, at exactly 2 a.m., we heard a loud voice calling out, "Listen to me." We rolled down the window and saw the old man again, walking towards us with that strange gait. His human-like body transformed into an animal as he began chasing our car. We sped away, reciting prayers, until we finally saw the lights of a hotel. We booked 2 rooms, but all stayed together in one, too scared to separate. While we were talking about what had happened, we heard horrifying screams coming from the forest behind the hotel. The receptionist later told us the area was known for strange occurrences. I've lived in Dubai for 10 years, but regularly visit my family home in Washington, which we purchased in 2016. On my first stay there in March, I immediately noticed something was off. My room was on the first floor, beautifully decorated, but I couldn't sleep at night. Every night I heard noises from the rooftop, furniture being dragged, children laughing, and balls bouncing. My parents had locked the stairs to the roof and warned me never to go up there. One night I spoke with the bodyguard stationed at the colony's entrance. He told me the house next 2 hours had never been rented for more than a month because it was haunted. He also shared his own chilling experience. One night he saw a lamb wandering the colony. When he tried to lift it, its legs stretched unnaturally, terrifying him. One evening as I lay in bed, the rooftop noises grew unbearable. I peeked out the window and saw dogs circling something invisible, barking furiously. The bodyguard was watching silently, refusing to intervene. The next morning, I confronted him. He admitted the colony was haunted and hinted that the entities weren't to be disturbed. From that day I begged my family to move, but they loved the house too much to leave. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales.